On this episode of the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast, I'll be covering 100 Miles Per Hour, the song Prince wrote for Mazarati's one and only album released in 1986. And so, actually after saying that, Prince didn't technically write it for Mazarati. It wasn't like Mazarati came to Prince and like, we'd love it to have a song written by you on our upcoming Paisley Park album. No, it wasn't like that at all. So this was a song Prince had in his vault. He recorded his version in June of '84, according to Prince Vault. And, this was, if anybody is familiar with what was going on in the world of Prince in June of 1984, it's pretty significant. At the end of that month, he released Purple Rain, the album that would go on to be his biggest seller and most endearing, and the album that would catapult him to superstardom. So it was, June of '84 was a big deal in his career, but that album had been, wrapped up for many months. So he was moving on to other things. He had, the Time album already wrapped up. Sheila E.'s album had just been released. He's working on Apollonia 6's debut album. So there was a lot going on. And of course, then also there was The Family. The Family was a project he was now becoming interested in. Now that the Time, basically by summer of '84, was completely dissolved to the point where, Morris Day wasn't even really a part of the promotion beyond the movie. There wasn't a tour, like the Time didn't join Prince and the Revolution on tour to support Purple Rain, and it would have made absolute sense, but considering their connection to the film, but it wasn't to be. So Prince had moved on, and he had his eyes on The Family, which of course included included a woman that he was interested in at the time, Susanna Melvoin, and other members of the Time that had basically dissolved, like I said, at that point in the summer of '84. This version that we hear on the Originals project from 2019 was recorded in June, like I said, June of '84 at the Flying Cloud Drive Warehouse studio in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. It is believed that this song was likely going to be considered for the Family's one and only Paisley Park album, and Mazarati was not yet formed in the summer of '84. So again, me saying that this was a song written for Mazarati is a little disingenuous. The Mazarati version of the song was recorded in spring of 1985, approximately 9 to 10 months after Prince's version was recorded. And those who don't know who Mazarati are and what their connection to Prince, well, Mazarati was Revolution bassist Brown Mark's side project. So Brown Mark wasn't in the band, but the band members were people that Mark knew from high school, other musicians that he became aware of and befriended in the Minneapolis area. I'm not sure if he went to the same school as them or just became aware of them through, the fellowship of musicians gigging and playing different shows around the city, around the metro. So yeah, they're a Minneapolis band just like Mark, so he knew them from back in the day. The lead singer, Sir Casey Terry, and the bassist, Jerome Romeo Cox, those were Brown Mark's two main contacts, through association with him, and led them to be signed by Prince's Paisley Park record label, which was his kind of his vanity label at the time. It just kind of launched. So Prince's Paisley Park label was new as of '85, and the Family album was one of the first ones, and the Mazarati album would come a year later in 1986. Mazarati's '86 debut, the self-titled Mazarati album, was the only Paisley Park album that Mazarati would release, They would eventually sign with Motown and release their second album in 1989, but then they would break up soon after. The second album was even less successful than the debut on Paisley Park, so as you can imagine, it just wasn't meant to be. 100 Miles Per Hour is the song, though, that most people remember Mazarati for. It was their only quote-unquote hit. It reached number 19 on the Billboard's Black charts in 86, and number 12 on the Hot Dance Disco charts, so not bad at all. It didn't really cross over to pop audiences. But that was really it. There was no other hit that one could point to from that album, and even that hit is a song that, unless you were listening to those formats, you were not going to be aware of. MTV didn't really push the video at all, and for speaking for myself, growing up in a very rural white town in Wisconsin, this song was not ever played on any radio station I had access to. So I was unaware of it for many years until I started diving into some of the Paisley Park and affiliate bands and other musicians that Prince wrote songs for. And this is really the only song that Prince wrote that ended up on the Mazarati album. Of course, Mazarati has the history with Prince's enormous hit Kiss, also that same year in 1986. I covered all of that on the Kiss episode, so I'm not going to go through that again. If you want to know the history of what happened between Prince and Brown Mark and Mazarati with Kiss, then and David Z, then I think you need to just go back to listen to that episode or do some digging online, because it's all there and well documented. So this is a lyrics podcast, and the lyrics to 100 Miles Per Hour aren't exactly the deepest. It's not one of Prince's most revealing or complex compositions from a lyrical standpoint. It's a fun, raucous dance song, pop rock song, scorching guitar intro, really fun chorus, but what it's saying, it's not saying a whole lot, and that's being kind. There's nothing truly deep here. It's more of a credo as a fairy tale. So we get that once upon a time there in the opening verse. There's a fairy tale. It says, once upon a time, funky music belonged to people who drink cheap wine. But the chorus is what really people mostly remember. The verses are very short and unmemorable, in my opinion. So he's attempting to create a fairy tale here. And I think the really the only interesting aspect of this verse is trying to figure out, what does he mean by funky music belongs to people who drink cheap wine? I suppose my opinion on that, I thought of it a bit. I don't know if he's implying that the kind of music that Prince makes, as well as others in the Minneapolis sound, other band members, The Time, Sheila E., stuff that Prince had his fingers in, or just other people in general. They wouldn't even have to be in the Minneapolis sound bubble. Could be anywhere in the United States or in the world, I suppose. If you were making funky music or funk music, maybe it's perceived as quote-unquote lesser music, or music meant for those who are of a lower class. Hence the drinking cheap wine line. I don't know if for sure if that's what Prince meant by that, and of course, I don't believe that, and Prince didn't believe that either, so it's kind of maybe a way of saying, like, hey, this is the music I make. Maybe you think it's not high class, it's not Mozart, although some call Prince modern day Mozart. It's not classical music, it's not show tunes, it's not something that's going to win lots of Grammys, although Purple Rain did. But when Prince wrote this song in early '84 or whenever it was exactly that he wrote it, he wasn't necessarily an awards darling, at that point. So maybe that's kind of what he's saying. Like, this isn't music for people with high class tastes, or people who are concerned with that approach in life, that the material things, or living a lifestyle that affords expensive wine or champagne or expensive meals and drinks. This is for the people. The chorus is, that's why I gotta get off my own way. That's the new golden rule. Enjoy the closest human. I'm much too hot to be cool. 100 miles an hour, baby. That's what it's all about. I need a lover that'll slow me down. Somebody that'll make me shout. So I think in the chorus, Prince is trying to explain what he's going to do instead. So instead of being pigeonholed, so in this fairy tale, this once upon a time life, he's the character that's being told he's not good enough, or maybe not classy enough. Well, Prince is going to get off his own way. He's going to tell people that he's got his own rules that he's going to follow. He's got his own methods that he's going to employ to enjoy life. And aspects of this chorus speak to, finding a mate, finding a lover. And it's not just about, this is my music, so fuck off, but also like, hey, I'm going to do my own thing musically, but I'm also going to follow my own path and live life to the fullest. And that is hopefully going to help me find somebody, or I need to find somebody who can join me on this journey, because I'm going to live life 100 miles an hour. But he says, I need a lover that'll slow me down. So he doesn't necessarily want to find somebody who's going to ride the 100 mile an hour ride with him. He wants somebody who can pull him back, rein him in occasionally, to help him realize or see some of the good things in life that he might be speeding too fast to see. Going by them so quickly that he can't even see what's next to him or what's near him that is worth experiencing or worth enjoying. So he needs a lover that'll balance him out, basically, is what I get from this. He's going to go his own way. He's going to follow his own path. He's going to do it as fast as he can. He's much too hot to be cool, which is a kind of a fun line, but it doesn't really speak much to the theme of the song or the chorus. But yeah, he's going to do his own thing, but he needs somebody who's going to be his yang to his yang. Somebody who's going to help him be a more well-rounded individual. I need a lover that'll slow me down, somebody that'll make me shout. The second verse, there's a misconception that says everything on the one, and my first reaction is just try to have a little fun. So I think this is just basically saying he's going to go against the grain again, do his own thing, even if it's not expected. And this really just describes the majority of Prince's career as it stands. So he definitely walked the walk, and he does what he says he's going to do. He said he was going to do this, and he was already doing this. By 1984, he was already living his life like this. He's going to do his own thing. He's going to not be so regimented in how he approaches music. And he's going to have fun while he's doing it. And if it's not fun to him, now maybe some people didn't find some of his techniques fun in creating music or practicing music, but the end result, I think, the ends justified the means, is what I'm trying to say there. What we have is a catalog of music that is basically unmatched by just about anyone in the the history of recorded music, from a volume and quality standpoint. The chorus is the same, so we get that again. So I'm not going to go through that again, but it is identical. Then he says in verse 3, there's a fairy tale that says, twice in the land of Oz, Dorothy made love to the lion because, and then he goes into the chorus again. This third verse just feels like a total throwaway, but he is trying to tie back in the whole once upon a time fairy tale theme of the song. Twice in the land of Oz, Dorothy made love to the lion. I don't quite understand this. I think maybe it's just the lion might be Prince in this metaphor, although the lion is cowardly, so maybe he's Dorothy. I don't I don't really know what he's trying to say here. And twice in the land of Oz, not once in the land of Oz, but twice in the land of Oz. I couldn't make really heads or tails of this so much, other than just maybe thinking what happened in this version of the fairy tale in The Wizard of Oz and Prince's version of the Wizard of Oz is completely unexpected. He's going to get off his own way. That's what he says in the chorus. That's the new golden rule. So, yeah, that was something that didn't happen in the version of The Wizard of Oz that we all know and love, but Prince's version, not only once in the land of Oz, but it was twice, and Dorothy made love to the lion because he's got to get off his own way. That's the new golden rule, because that's the verse bleeds right into the chorus. So I guess that's what we have to kind of interpret, is that the only reason why this happened, the only reason why Dorothy made love to the lion, is because getting to get off his own way. That's the new golden rule. Enjoy the closest human, I'm much too hot to be cool. 100 miles an hour, baby, that's what I'm all about. I need a lover that'll slow me down, somebody that'll make me shout. Can you make me shout? So yeah, that's 100 miles an hour. I don't have much more to say about the song. Again, it's a fun song, not super deep. Meant to be just kind of a jam, basically. And check out, if you can find like the old video that MTV never played. It's not like an officially released one. You got to find somebody's kind of crummy copy of it. Actually, go to the Moonbeam Levels for You lyrics website. It's posted on there. Check it out. It's a trip. It's not anything super crazy, but just seeing the fashion that Mazarati, the look that Mazarati had in '86, totally Baroque '80s, riding the coattails of Prince and the Revolution's '84 look, still in '86. Obviously, Prince had moved on from that look by then. His look on the Parade album cover and in the Kiss video and Under the Cherry Moon, all '86 stuff was completely different than what he looked like in '84 during the Purple Rain era, or even '85 in the Around the World in a Day videos. But yeah, this was a Paisley Park album, so there was a expectation of glamour and audacity in appearance, and Mazarati lived up to that visually, for sure. It's unfortunate that the Mazarati album wasn't more successful, or this song wasn't more successful. I think it's one of Prince's better compositions musically that he gave to other artists. Not top tier, but high enough on the list that when the song comes on, I certainly enjoy it. And Prince's version is really fun. So give it a listen if you haven't. This has been the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast. I've been your host, Jason Brenninger. You can find the show at pressrewind.net or on social media, any of the typical social media avenues, websites, apps. You can contact me there if you have any comments. I would love to. And also on YouTube. I get a lot of comments on YouTube. I think YouTube is a platform that makes it really easy for people to comment on videos and whatnot. So if you have different interpretations of the song that you would like to express, get a hold of me and let me know. I would love to hear from you. So thank you, and until next time, goodbye.